Hi, everybody. We're here to talk about Terminator Dark Fate. I believe this is the fifth Terminator movie, and again, I don't know how many everybody actually lists in what the real Terminator movies are or not, but I guess everybody has their preferences. But as far as this movie is concerned, this will be a spoiler review, mostly because it's impossible to talk about this movie without talking about spoilers, because Terminator is a one-trick pony, just like Star Wars. Even though Star Wars has a huge universe, all they keep doing is Empire versus Rebel, and even though they have the ability of doing more, and with Terminator they really don't. It's the man versus machine. Period. That's all this franchise has to offer. So it's a new advanced machine versus the humans, or humans who have teamed up with machines, and that's pretty much what the future holds for that. So, and I think that's where the commentary is. But again, it's a one-trick pony, so it's impossible really to talk about a Terminator movie without going into spoilers. So we're just going to do spoilers. I'm not going to do a non-spoiler review. So I just want to tell you first off, if you don't want to go into the spoilers, I'll cut them off, pretty much right here where we talk about what I thought of the film. And I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. There are some problems with the film, but I felt like I was watching a Terminator film, which I have not done since T2. So Terminator 2 was in some ways better than T1, and I felt like this kind of went along with that look and feel from the originals, and seeing Linda Hamilton come back, I just added so much to the film, and I was really worried about what they were going to do with her. Well, they were going to do like they did with Star Wars and bring back the original people just to kill them off. So I really didn't know what to expect in the film as far as that's concerned. Who was going to die? Who was going to not? And that way I was very, very invested with the characters, which is really what takes this movie and makes it different than the others. All the way from T2, because I was invested, and I hadn't been invested in the characters of a Terminator film for a long time. I know that some people are saying, well, it totally changed the timeline, and it does. It totally changes the timeline, and I'm torn with that as well. But we'll talk about what I think is the case here. So that makes me feel a little better and make other people feel a little better too. So, it starts out with the first scene with John Connor getting killed, okay? And after working with Edward Furlong in Star Trek Renegades, I can tell you that probably was a good move on the producer's part. So, here's the first scene. Okay, so they're at a meaning Sarah Connor and John Connor are at a tiki resort kind of thing, like a resort in like the Bahamas or one of the island chains. And but I get to tell you that if you've seen it already, you know that the facial de-aging was incredible. It looked great. It really looked great. In fact, there's only really one scene that I was like, "Ooh, that looks really fake," but it wasn't. It wasn't in that beginning scene. They were all looked really, really good. Naturally, when they're in this resort and John Connor gets killed, and Sarah, jumps to her side, and Terminator just walked away after he's dead because he had completed his mission. So I didn't know if the scene was real or not. I was kind of expecting Sarah Connor to wake up from a dream or whatever, but no, it ended up being a real scene. And that, if I roll my eyes at any part of the film, it's right here. Why were they at an island resort? Okay, so Sarah Connor was boots in the sand, training him. Had all these guns, lined up everywhere, so that she could find them. No matter where she was, she had a place to arm up. I'm sure she didn't have that at an island resort. It doesn't make any. That part didn't make any sense. They must have had, oh hey, we saved the world. Let's go to a tiki resort. Where we're going to go next? We're going to go to Disneyland. In fact, why don't we go to Universal? I hear there's a Terminator ride. Let's do that. It just didn't make any sense that they would go and celebrate. Let's say they did, destroy Cyberdyne and Skynet, and now what? They're going to party? It just didn't make any sense. Not for those characters. It didn't make any sense. I don't know if they had to shoot something there because of something contractual, or if there was some kind of a branding thing that gave them money or whatever that they had to shoot there. But anyway, that's it. Just didn't make any sense. But anyway, outside of that, if you discount that, then we're okay. So John Connor is killed. All right, so I can see a lot of people being up in arms that, I put all this stock into everything that was going on up to this point with all the other movies, and now John Connor doesn't even matter. And I can see that point. I'm kind of half on that boat. But the Terminator that killed John, who is Arnold, who again we see later, still remembers and still exists from that timeline where Cyberdyne and Skynet exist. So my thing with that is that when Cyberdyne and Skynet were destroyed, there was a branch in the timelines. So at that point, there was a divergence. So the Cyberdyne Skynet timeline still exists, but we're not on that timeline anymore. We're going off to this juncture where there's something else. Okay, so if you keep that in mind, then yes, John Connor still exists and still matters in one timeline, but in this particular timeline, he doesn't. Okay, so that makes me feel a little better, because that means they can always jump back and forth, saying, okay, well, here's timeline 1 and here's timeline 2, or John. But again, what they did in the last movie was sacrilege, where they made John not only doesn't he matter, but he was evil. I gave up on that film. So this is basically going from T2 to T3. And so as if the other two movies just didn't happen. I didn't really mind T3 that much. I kind of liked the ending and everything like that, but this was so much better. So Linda Hamilton, we start out now, we're in Mexico right after that. And we have an introduction to Grace, and then the other Terminator who comes in. And we think immediately that Grace is another Terminator, just like in the past where we had the good Arnold come to save John and stuff like that. And then they're on the bridge, and we have this whole battle there. And the new Terminator is cool as hell that he could divide himself between the liquid and the exoskeleton, and they held to that throughout. They didn't mess up the formula of how the rules of how that worked, and I thought that was just great. I really liked that, and I really like Grace, and I like the new girl, even though the new girl is supposed to be the new John, and she doesn't have that persona. She's short, and she doesn't have the leadership thing. Like when you see, I think it's in T2, when you'd actually talk to John Connor, but you see him leading the troops, you're like, okay, that's the man. Where you don't get that with her, where she's not the woman. It's not a sexual thing, or a gender thing. It's purely I've seen definitely commanding presence. Like Linda Hamilton has a commanding presence. If I said she's the leader, I buy that. With this new chick, I didn't see that. But Linda Hamilton, seeing her in that role again, and she embraced that role, and the looks that she gave throughout, she stole every scene that she was in. Bringing her back into that, and I'm surprised that she did it. It must have been because James Cameron was not directing, because they were married and divorced. I don't think that the divorce was amicable. I think he cheated on her was the story, but anyway, but she decided to do the film, and I'm so glad she did, and I'm so glad they didn't kill her off, and they made her the new not only a matron but the mentor for her. So I liked all that, and I really liked Grace, and I liked the fact that they made her a human. And I don't know how this augmenting thing works. This is the first time it's ever been brought into a Terminator film or story in any way. But it was. I really liked that they made her a human with just like Wolverine type of endoskeleton or whatever, and she had her own power source for that. That was in her stomach. I don't know. She must not have been able to eat a lot because of this power source stuck in her stomach, making her stomach smaller. So anyway, I really like the film, and I really like the action sequences. But again, it's a retelling of the first movie for the most part. Having the battles in this machine shop, just like the last one, ended exactly the same way. And then it almost had some pieces of T2 in it, because the other Terminator... I love how they made the other Terminator have an arc outside of the film. Okay? What happened to this guy? That's the first time we've ever seen what happens to a Terminator after it completes its mission. Who the hell knows? So... and they answered a lot of questions. Well, first of all, it's the same Terminator that killed John, so of course Sarah would have a grudge, and this is not a woman that you want to be an enemy of. And so she shoots him, and he's like, looks down, and he's like, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to my wife. It had a lot of good comedic moments. I found myself laughing out loud at a bunch of stuff, and I wasn't laughing at it, I was laughing with it, because those things were meant to be funny. It wasn't like some of the other movies, like Predator, I was laughing at because it was just retarded. But it had a lot of heart. The movie had a lot of heart, which again we haven't seen in a very long time in a Terminator film. So anyway, but again, the action scenes and Grace and all that stuff. But Sarah, again with the Terminator, he took on a family, and they answered a lot of the questions by saying, I'm like, can he get it up? I don't know. How does the Terminator get it up? I know it's skin on top, but does he have blood flow? I guess he has blood flow, or else the skin would die. So I guess he could get it up. I don't know. But he said that the relationship was not physical. So he answered that question, and she goes, "Does she not realize that you're 400 pounds?" It was really good, a lot of fun, and I guess I could tell how people who went in there saying, "What, you screwed up this whole timeline?" I could see them being begrudging the film because of that, and as soon as that happens, they go, "I hate this" right off the bat, and I could see that. And again, I'm half there, but the fact that I'm thinking that there's two timelines is saving me from hating it because of that, and instead enjoying it. Anyway, I really liked the film, and I'm going to go see it again. I liked it a lot, and I'm going to probably see a lot of stuff that I missed the first time, and just enjoy the characters and the going. I was disappointed that they didn't use the blue tint. Instead, they used them coming out of the Terminators coming out of the water in the future. But I liked seeing the old guns again, and the lasers, and I really wish they would go into the future and do a movie that would take it away from it having being a one-trick pony, because we'd be able to, it'd still be man versus machine, but we could tell a whole different story without somebody going back in time and trying to save somebody. We could tell that in the future, and the last movie, and of course Genesis, throw Genesis away, uh, but the last movie that was in the future was directed by Mick G. It just didn't feel like Terminator. It wasn't Terminator. So I think I'd love to go forward and do a thing purely on that, where we have the look and feel from the older films. Um, and again, we just haven't had that yet. And that movie wasn't awful, but just didn't feel like Terminator. So, but anyway, love the film, and trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say about this film. I mean, I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 out of 10. I liked it that much. Again, it was good to, I guess, feel home. Because I mean, I saw original Terminator film, in the '80s, and it blew me away, and it was shot for nothing. I mean, if you hear the story about how the original Terminator film was made, uh, the the woman from that did Walking Dead, who was the Cameron's first wife, Galen Hurd. She pulled the last $1 million out of her pocket to make that movie, and it was shown in very few theaters. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I think we had to go a little bit further out of the town to see the movie, but I was blown away by it, and then when T2 came out, it was something else, and then it's gone downhill from there. But anyway, I enjoyed it, and go see it, and tell me your comments below and what you think, and if you had a problem with the diverging timeline, and how you felt about this. All right, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell button thing, because I just learned about that too. That if you don't hit the bell button, then it doesn't give you a notification that I've got a new video up. We have a bunch of new stuff going on. If you haven't gone to the Destiny Horizons group, go ahead and do that as well. And I'll see you on the flip side. Have a good one.